Well, that was fun. That was our new intro screen.
Hi, everybody.
Let's see if I can get it up every week. Hey, it's Monday, and you know what that means. It's time to talk Lorcana. We are super excited for this week. We're both here right now, as long as the little one lets us. We'll see how long it lasts. Hopefully better than the draft this weekend.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Which we may talk about. It's a great week to talk Limited. That's the first half of our show this week. Erin participated in her first draft this week.
I did.
Which was
fun. It was nerve-wracking before I did it, but on the back end, it was kind of fun. So I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and nerve-wracking all throughout, but it was fun, and it was a good time overall. While again, we only had one infant meltdown,
two, but that's okay.
It was a doozy though. So we're super excited for the show. The show's a two-parter. For the first half, we have some amazing guests. We're going to talk about the limited format in Lorcana. What is limited? Why is it great? Formats that we've seen Ravensburger run. Advice for people playing limited Lorcana. We have some expert guests to talk about that. And in the second half, we're going to bring in two fantastic Lorcana artists who have a connection over their fondness for a particular Disney movie. So we're super excited to talk to Adam Bunch and Luis Huerta during the second half.
Before we get started, for those of you who live in the South who are watching, can we just take a moment and just recognize that we are currently both in sweaters, and I'm very excited about that fact. I know, completely non-Lorcana, but I just was like sitting here, I was like, I don't think I've ever done a live stream in a sweater, and I am very happy about it.
That's true. And our house is drafty, so
cold.
Yeah. All right. Well, without further ado, let's introduce our guests. We have two fantastic guests. First, we'll bring in old friend of the channel, Marbles. It's Nive.
Hey, how's it going, y'all?
Nive from Nive Nerd Corner. Nive has been working on Lorcana draft and limited formats for ages, even before we had the official rules. So super excited you're here, Nive. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
And our second guest, we're really excited to have, first time on the channel, Jake from Fortyborn. Fortyborn is a fantastic podcast all about limited Lorcana. So if limited's your jam or you want it to be, like, this is one of the places to go for weekly limited content. And I'm super excited. Jake's here. Jake, welcome.
Yeah, thank you. I know you mentioned having experts on, and I'm glad Nive's here to fill that role. I certainly don't feel qualified, but I'm humbled and honored to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, perhaps, but I mean, we can call, having a podcast.
I feel like y'all are experts.
That's true.
Oh, thank you.
Sure. So
that's true. I mean, if you have a podcast about it, you just have a minor obsession, and so I think
minor obsession.
Yeah, so
a minor obsession is 100% accurate.
Oh yeah. Hey, obsession leads to expertise. So
we all just have a minor obsession with Lorcana. I mean,
just a little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, any conversation in this household is either about a baby or Lorcana, and that is pretty much the only topics of conversation that exist.
I wish that wasn't true.
Oh, and the show Squid Game: The Challenge right now, because we're watching.
Oh, that's true. Right now. That's true.
So,
getting shout out from a few other creators in the chat here. Katie from Live Laugh Lorcana, B Squared. Brandon is here in the chat, so thanks for the shout out. So limited. I'm not gonna lie, limited is my favorite format.
Of Magic.
Well, of Magic, even of Lorcana, to be honest. I just love it in card games in general, and I'll talk about why in a minute. But let's toss it over to our guests. And I'll open it up to which one of you talks first or wants to talk first. But for those who aren't familiar, when we say limited in a TCG, what do we mean, and how is that different than constructed formats, which I think people are used to?
You want to take a Nive?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll take it. So limited is actually more of a blanket term than a format. Limited is basically where you are given a set of cards. There's very different ways in which you get these cards, but essentially what you do is you get these cards and you build your deck from those cards. So what I do, so the way that I kind of separate it from constructed, which is like core or standard in Magic, is in constructed, you're bringing the deck with you to the store. In limited, you're getting a new deck out of that store. And so that's kind of how I differentiate between the two.
Interesting.
Yeah, what Nive said.
That's a good way to put it. One of the things I love about
I actually had a misconception on what limited was, so thank you for that definition, Nive.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, actually that's the simplest way to put it. For me, why well, I guess I'll the next question is going to be why you all love it. And I'll start, I think, but I'd love to hear your answers. Like, I love limited because for me with TCGs, there's a game before the game of Lorcana that you play, and that game is deck building. And in Constructed, you draw that out, and you're like, you're testing and playing that game and building the deck you want and all that. With limited, like you
have limited amount of time.
Yeah, and you are on the spot, and you're crafting a deck from a very small card pool, and that has implications for the types of cards that are being played, right? And we'll talk about that. But for you all, why both of you are, when I think of limited and Lorcana, I think of you two, like, first and foremost. So why the obsession with limited? What is it for you all?
Yeah, there's a lot of things that I like about it. I think that the thing that I like about it is it mitigates a lot of things that I dislike about TCGs in general, such as like the pay to win factor is inherently an aspect of a TCG, right? I mean, it's just baked into the structure of the game, and that's totally fine. We all know what we're signing up for when we sit down to play a trading card game. Some cards will be better than others. Better meaning not better meaning more optimal or more finely tuned to work well with others. However you define better. In limited formats, what I like is we sit down and we have a level playing field. Everybody has an equal shot. Everybody has an equal chance. It's just me trying to work with what's given to me to get 20 lore before my opponent. So I think that's one of the things that I like. I also like that it really forces me to understand the core mechanics of a game. And what I mean by that is if I exclusively play Amber Amethyst aggro, which is what I play in Constructed, I play that because I like my games to be over quickly. I like to go fast, and it's just fun to try to get as much lore as possible. So it's fun, but I'm not seeing a lot of variability when I just play red purple every game, right? When I play the same deck into the same deck over and over, you see a lot of the same stuff, and that's okay. That's not necessarily for me, which is why I like limited, because limited, every game is going to be different. Every deck that I build is going to be different from week to week, and every game that I play against someone else, their deck is going to be different. So those are the things that I like about it. I could go on for a while, but those are a couple of things that I immediately thought of.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you guys kind of covered pretty much everything that I listed down for draft. So going back to about 10 years ago when I started playing Magic the Gathering as a middle schooler, yes, I'm that young, I was a broke middle schooler. So I couldn't really, back then it was the Tarkir block, so standard decks were $1,000. Well, I wasn't going to be able to compete with that. So I went to drafts. And so that's how I built my collection. That's how I was introduced to trading card games, was through draft and limited. And so that's how a lot of people look at TCGs as a Constructed as the primary and then limited as like a fun side thing. My brain has always been switched the other way around.
Yeah, same
but
here.
yeah, like Jake said, like Liam and Jake said, it's a great equalizer. No one can come in with that $1,000 deck and run the table. You have to have skill in your deck building. And not to say that there's no skill in deck building in Constructed, but you kind of have that improv deck building, kind of like in a show where Constructed would be like a pre-designed show on stage. In limited, these are the improvers. These are the improv shows. Can you perform well with what you are given, with the prompts, the cards you're given? And also just the variance of it all. You're playing a different deck every time. Yeah, there's some big themes that kind of overarch it all. So like if you grab a Queen of Hearts sensing weakness, well, you're playing a challenging deck, but you have different challengers every single game. Yeah, so those are kind of the big reasons why I like limited, and also it's just as diverse as constructed. Every version of limited is different from each other.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually a good point. And I was going to ask, you brought up right at first, Nive, that limited is a blanket term. And I know you mentioned draft as one of the ways you can play, but there's a whole bunch of different ways that you can play, limited formats. And we've even seen Ravensburger at official events do several different versions of limited events, different versions of sealed events.
Yeah.
So, Jake, what is your favorite way to play limited? And are there you want to go over some of the other formats we've seen Ravensburger roll out?
Yeah, absolutely. So my favorite way to play limited is my favorite way to play Lorcana, and it doesn't exist yet, but it will. I'm speaking it into existence here, okay? Pre-release weekend sealed events is my favorite way to play any trading card game I've ever played.
Yes.
And Lorcana, I think, is perfectly tuned to that crowd. So I'm going to relate this to Magic. And if somebody, if we lose viewers for that, I apologize. But in Magic, I get a lot of flack. And by that, I mean from Taylor, because I talk about Magic too much on our podcast. But in Magic, on pre-release is a week before actual street release date. Only LGSs get access to product, and they are given pre-release kits. And inside this pre-release kit is 6 packs of cards, a D20 that's themed with that set. So for Lorcana, it would be a 20-sided die with the icon or with art related to Into the Inklands, for example, and then 1 special promo card. So it's cool because you get a little bit of collectability with like the promo and with the dice, and you get 6 packs, you build a sealed deck, and then you have a tournament. And it's just fun because it's new. It's new for everyone. Nobody's been prepping and grinding hundreds of games with that set. Yeah, Nive is holding one up right now. They're just cool little boxes. You get 6 packs, you build a deck, and you play with your friends. You can like take them and leave the LGS, or you can play at the LGS. And so that's my favorite way to play limited, is sealed, in particular for pre-release events.
This is actually my pre-release deck from the Lord of the Rings set.
Nice. Shiny. I agree. I love this pre-release event because it feels like an event. You get the cool packs and all that, and it's a standard sealed format with 6 packs, and you get the bonus, promos, and you make a deck out of those 6 packs. This is a format you can play like without the pre-release pack. This is a format you all can play at home, when product becomes more available, by the way. Get 6 packs, build a deck out of that pool.
1 box supports 4-player sealed.
Oh, that's true. That's a great point.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if you have a
something
family,
I was gonna
So if you have a friend group of 4 people and you want to play a game of sealed, buy a box. Fun night.
It is a great way to
I
play.
think limited, the official Ravensburger official limited formats are sealed, which is 6 packs. You open them all at once, build a 40 card deck. Ink color doesn't matter. Draft, you get 4 packs, and you open. You know how a draft works. You open a pack, you take a card, you pass the rest to the person next to you. You do that 4 times, you get a 40 card deck. And then pre-constructed, which is a little confusing in name because we just said pre-constructed sounds like it's not a limited format. But what they mean by that is you get a starter deck and you can open the pack and shuffle it in. They've, in some of their documentation that we found online, they include that as a limited format. But there's other ones outside of that, like a cube. Me and Nive were talking about cube on Twitter, and Nive built a cube. So cube is great because it's a way to use your collection that you already have, which I think is another thing that I love so much about limited, is it's a way to actually use your cards. Without limited formats, you typically just open a pack, look at the back 3 cards, and then the rest is garbage, or you don't need it, or just goes into a stack that never gets sorted. Or with limited, we are forced to use those cards, which I like. I like being forced to use cards that I've never thought about. And sometimes I'll use a card and be like, wow, that would actually be pretty good in this constructed deck. And then that skill carries over. So I think there's a lot of flexibility in limited formats. And like Nive said, if you're already opening product, you might as well play with it. Like if you're getting a box, have some friends over, and then just do a ghost sealed event where these are all my cards, but we're going to open them and we're going to play with them. And then at the end of the night, I'll just keep them. Or people can buy into a box. You can also do like a dueling thing where if you and someone else just want to just do 2 people, you both open 6 packs, build a sealed deck. And then what we've done is if you win game 1, you only get to open 1 pack and mix it into your deck, but your opponent gets to open 2 packs to mix it into their deck. So they get to improve more, and you just do best of 5, and then that will go through a whole box. So the world is your oyster. Ravensburger has 3 official formats, but limited, hey, you can do whatever you'd like.
Oh yeah. Am I allowed to answer one of the comments?
Which one?
Yep, the one you just pulled up. So the big concern with Cube right now is that we've only have 2 sets B squared. And so making a video about how to build a cube right now is kind of what's the word I'm looking for? It's not unnecessary, but like we don't have enough pieces for cubes to become super unique. And so I plan on making a cube making a cube video after Inklands drops, because now we got 3 sets. Theoretically, we'll have a bunch of different archetypes. But yeah, so a cube, for those who don't know, we kind of just scanned over it. Basically, you're building your own Lorcana set to draft. And what's really nice is that Illumined Heroes Troves with unsleeved cards can hold a cube for 16 players to draft. And so what I did was just my 5+ copies of cards. I just put them in here. It can be singleton. You can build it however you want because it's yours. If you want, you could just have all the amber cards in your cube, and it's just amber cards. You can have it all villains. It's a way to show yourself through a cube and other people draft and everything. It's fun. It's awesome.
The personality part I love. Some people like alter them, and my favorite cube story is Brandon Sanderson. For anybody who's a Sander fan, fantastic author. He has his own cube like that. It's just wild with like unglued cards and zany cards, and so he for Commander, it's a lot of fun. I did want to break up. I have a fun video of what your face looks like when you're playing Lorcana sealed, and your packs aren't very good.
Oh, poor Jaunty. Oh,
the frustration.
Like, another Gantu. Gantu.
Oh, a Moana. Oof.
Yeah, this was Ravensburger's very first official Lorcana tournament event at Gen Con, and Jaunty made the top 8.
Prince Eric.
And he was building a seal deck here, and I laughed because he didn't look very impressed the whole time. But but that's part of the fun, right? You get to adjust on the fly.
And sometimes you come up with the worst pools, and somehow you win. There was one time.
Yeah, go ahead, Nive.
Oh.
No, you got it. I interrupted you. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. How dare you? No. There was one time I was playing sealed back in Magic, and all of my rares were absolute terrible cards. Either they cost 20 resources or they just were unplayable. So I was playing with a bunch of commons and uncommons and won a couple games with it. It's crazy. It's fun stuff.
Yeah, I've never built a sealed or draft deck and been like, this deck is really good. Every time I build a deck, I'm like, there's no way I win a single game. And then sometimes I'm right.
Yep.
I have had one of those decks
Nice.
where it's just like, I don't know how I lose.
Yeah.
with this. But they're very rare.
Conversely, I've built decks where I'm like, this is it. This synergy is so good. And then you go play and you crash and burn.
Wait, in a draft?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It
happens
like, this
for
sure.
I did it. I built the perfect draft deck, and then
yeah.
There is no perfect draft deck. That's why it's called draft.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, I think that's like a lot of people's biggest hesitation with limited events is like there's this fear that I'm not ready, and it's like that could not be more far from the truth. Like if you know how to play Lorcana, you're ready to draft. Like if it's your first time playing the game, yeah, maybe you shouldn't pick cards when you don't know what the cards do. I think that's understandable. But if you've played a handful of games, like I think it's a great way to learn You try diverse cards, you get put in weird situations, and you learn a lot very quickly. So I think that the best way to do it is just to try it. There's probably an LGS near you that's doing one, and if not, maybe you asking is the thing that gets it on their calendar. So I think that if you're scared, don't be scared. You got this.
Be terrified.
Yeah, that's a great point too about game stores doing it now, because I think that we've seen significant stock of the first chapter out there right now. And I know a lot of game stores for the first time ever may be sitting on some extra first chapter stock, and it's the perfect time to ask them about a draft.
Yeah.
That's what our
Yeah.
LGS did.
That's what our LGS did. So.
Yeah.
It's a great way for you to get cards that, even though you already have your play sets of, you're still able to experience the joy of these cards, and it helps your local gaming store get it off their shelves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
it's a win-win for everyone. Products moved around, everyone's still having fun with it all. And afterwards, whenever you're all done drafting, hey, I saw that you opened up that legendary I've been wanting. Can we trade?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when somebody pulls an enchanted in that pack, like, it.
Oh,
Like,
my-
the whole store knows it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just the whole table just starts clapping. Just
Yeah.
it's
And then
awesome.
And you sub that puppy out.
Yep.
Yeah.
I
You
did
just
wanna-
write the name on a token.
Right.
Yeah.
Since we're talking about draft, I thought I have a fun game I wanted to throw up there. One of the things about limited that we talked about is cards that you normally wouldn't think of as great cards, you normally wouldn't be excited to pull in a pack, like all of a sudden become good. And you see all sorts of things. Like, I think one thing you said, Nive, is cards that are, and Jake, you said something similar, like cards that are good in constructed aren't necessarily good in draft, and cards that are bad in constructed aren't necessarily bad in draft.
Yeah. I think
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
They're completely different games. Like you can, the first chapter came out, constructed was doing Ruby Amethyst Control and Steel Song. Those strategies are unplayable in draft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I recorded my draft this weekend, all except my first pack, which somehow I missed. So I'm going to show you all right now my pack 1 second pick. My first pick was Friends from the Other Side. I went straight for a common over the rares.
It's a good pick.
This is my pack 2. I'm going to restart this so we can start watching the beginning, but I'll pause it before the end. And everybody watching in the chat, I'm curious to know what you all would have picked. The only thing I've got right now is a Friends from the Other Side. And yeah.
Okay. So I didn't.
Is this default rules draft or is this Knives draft?
This is default rules draft. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we'll explain that after the fun game. Okay, so the 8 cost in the back, that's probably bad. Yeah.
Let's see what
I was about to say you didn't even make it to the end.
I know. Well,
yeah.
the 8 cost in the back is a Maui.
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 Yeah.
I
I probably would have grabbed the Peter Pan or the Jasper here.
Okay.
Peter Pan's a rusher, and so he's removal. He's not as good as Rafiki because that 1 willpower does a lot, but he's still a removal piece. Jasper is like a half of a removal piece because he stops your opponent from doing the thing that they want to do, which is win. So, I would be fine with either of those picks, and it looks like you took the Jasper.
I did take the Jasper. Yeah.
Liam loves.
Yeah, I
What
like
about
the
you, Jake?
Jasper.
Okay.
Well, Jasper's good disruption.
Yeah.
I think that I would take the Mickey. And so here's the thing. Here's why. Mickey Mouse is not card draw, but it is card advantage. Because by inking off the top of your deck, you're not inking out of your hand. And that's 1 less card that I would have to ink in the future. So in limited, you're almost always going to stop inking at like 6 ink, 7 ink. So once you hit that number, you should stop inking cards out of your hand anyways, in general, which means if you get there 1 turn earlier with Mickey, not only do you get to play cards earlier on curve, meaning I could play a 5-drop on turn 4, right? If I play Mickey on 3, I get a 5-drop on turn 4. That means that I now can stop inking 1 turn earlier, and I've effectively saved myself from having to get rid of 1 more card out of my hand. So that's why I really like that Mickey. I know the body's not great. If you draw him late in the game, it feels kind of bad. But if you get him on curve, even turn 3, 4, 5, that's my pick.
Yeah.
But Jasper's great. I'm
Oh, yeah.
definitely not
Yeah.
down on the Jasper
I
pick at all.
did think about that Mickey for the rest of the draft because I never saw another one. And
The detective, yeah.
yeah,
Should have been
but,
Basil. I will
yeah.
stand on that. Should have been Basil.
It's a great card. I worry about aggro sometimes in limited, and so
As you
Jasper
should.
is kind of like counter aggro, and
Mhm.
yeah. I have one more pack here, and again, I'm interested for the chat. Feel free to chime in. I think we saw mostly Mickey, Jasper, Brandon in the chat said he was going to go with Pan.
Oh, Flounder, absolutely.
Right.
Why did you even go past?
Where's Jared? Yeah. So Flounder, we have a Tangle, Sebastian, a Tinkerbell, Fire the Cannons, and Olaf. Jumba, one jump ahead, another ramp card. Sven for a big body, and all the rares have been taken out of this pack.
Yeah. So all we have right now is a Friends and a Jasper.
Friends and a Jasper.
It's a rough one. What do you think, Jake?
Where are you leaning, Jake?
Well, it's hard for me to pass a Fire the Cannons. Fire the Cannons is removal. It is uninkable, but there's not that much removal. So I'm probably taking the Fire the Cannons. I also really like Sven because Sven's big and there's not many 6+. There's not many like 6 or 7 cost cards at the common or uncommon level. I think there's just 2 in this set.
There's
Sven.
1.
Oh, it's just Sven?
It's Colonel. Or
Captain?
I don't think there's any commons or uncommons that can one-shot Sven.
Oh yeah. So the reason Sven is great because if you can land Sven on turn 6, Sven can do a lot of cleanup work. So those big body cards at the 5 and 6 cost slot are really, really good and limited. So I'd probably take Fire the Cannons just to get some good cheap removal. But I like the Sven pick here as well.
That's great. So I was gonna say in the chat you have Steven, at least one also liking Sven right off the bat, Inkability as well. Illuminator points out Sebastian can sing Friends. That's a consideration. And then we have a couple votes for Cannons as well from Brandon and Sunscorch. So everybody's kind of in the same area here.
Yeah.
I ended up taking the Cannons.
Cannons, yeah.
Where I
Cannons
went.
went up. I wasn't big on Cannons at the start of the first chapter, but after a couple turns with it, I'm like, okay, 2 damage is a lot.
Yeah. I'd like to point out to you this Tinkerbell, this evasive Tinkerbell wheeled all the way around to me.
Wow.
And I ended up with 3 of them in my deck.
Wow.
Which they did some work on turn 5.
Yeah, evasive. I know that this is I'm not sure about the level of everyone I'm not sure about the familiarity with everyone that's listening, but evasive is arguably the strongest keyword in limited formats. So I was eyeing that Tinkerbell as well, but I think that it's easier to get evasives in not in the first chapter than it is to get those big bodies.
Yeah, no. I think evasive is the strongest ability, seconded only to 4 lore.
Fair enough.
Oh yeah. I did end up getting past a Maleficent uninvited, which I also love on turn 5.
It's great on turn 5.
It was great. Okay. Well, thanks for that. You all gave me something to think about and validated a couple of my choices. But
you don't need us. You know what you're doing.
Perhaps. Although Sven,
I need the views.
Right. You're pointing out the 7 line on the back half is great. All right, we're about to transition in the second half of our show. I'm gonna bring in some other guests, which I'm super excited about. Before I do that, because I want to plug the artists at the end of the show, I want to make sure I give you two an opportunity to tell people how they can follow you all, so that we don't cram at the end of the show. So before I introduce our guests, both of you, how can people follow you all?
I'll go. Fortyborn. Currently, we just produce podcast content. We might venture into the video game one day, but we'll see. So our podcast is called Fortyborn. You can find it on all major podcasting platforms. You can also follow us on Twitter And then we have a Discord where we talk about stuff like this basically every day. Knives in there. We talk about picks. What we just did with Liam, we do every day, basically. Or sometimes I'll generate like 6 packs and I'm like, hey, let's throw together a sealed deck and see what we would include. So it's a good place to just hang out in a good community and chat about Limited and Lorcana in general. So yeah, check us out there. Check us out on Twitter and check us out on your podcasting platform of choice. What about you, Knife?
Yeah, so I have a YouTube channel. It's called Knives Nerd Corner. It's the thing right here. Yeah. I'm also on the site formerly known as Twitter. If you see this cute little guy, that is me. I talk about a lot about Limited. I'm also a math nerd, so I go into the math of Lorcana a lot. Just dropped a video about the best way to collect your Lorcana cards. I'm also on the Fortyborn Discord. I'm just gonna slowly take over a little corner of that
Infiltrate.
Discord.
Before you know it, there'll be like a little marbles corner that you didn't even paying attention, and this little cephalid is set up.
Where did that
That's totally
channel
fine.
come from?
Yeah, that's great.
And can I just really quickly before we move on to the next, I do have to say, if for those of you who are watching who might be new to Lorcana and to kind of playing Limited, like Liam mentioned at the beginning of the stream, like I had my first draft this weekend. I was super, super scared and intimidated. On Friday night, we were drafting Saturday morning, and Liam spent the whole evening quizzing me on different packs. And I have to say, like, some of the resources that I found from both Jake and Nive were super, super helpful for me. Liam was using Jake's generated packs to quiz me on what to choose, and Nive's 10 commandments of drafting were all super, super helpful. So definitely check both of these guys out if you're going into your first draft and have a lot of fun. The people there are super helpful and nice. She has lots of opinions on
and
draft.
Elena agrees.
Elena's gonna draft. I can tell.
Yeah. With that, Knife, I know you have to go, so we're gonna say goodbye to
Yeah.
you before we bring in our next guests. So
All right.
thanks. Let's do it again soon. Bye, Marbles.
See you, Knife.
All right. Well, without further ado, let's get our next two guests in here. I'm super excited. For those who haven't watched us before, you know that we believe that the art of Lorcana is what makes Lorcana what it is. And without the hours and hours and hours that go into each illustration, this game wouldn't be successful. And so for that, we have the artist to thank. So we've got two fantastic artists we're going to welcome in. First, he's a friend of a channel. You've seen him before. It's Luis Huerta.
Hi,
Luis, good to see you again.
That was it. Elena was just super hyped.
Hello, guys.
Again.
We're super excited.
And then look, it's Mr. Luis.
And then we have a
It's
brand new
good to see
guest
you
to the channel.
Okay, wait, we're gonna go out.
Yeah, all right. We'll see you in a minute. We'll see you when she comes down. Brand new guest to the channel. First time here. Introduced to the Lorcana world with set 2 with his fantastic Chief Bogo illustration. It's Adam Bunch. Adam, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited, and I'm so excited to talk to you about your illustrations. For those watching, I want to show you make sure you're familiar with these artist cards. Louise is one of the original D23 artists with this fantastic Maleficent, and he continued his work into set 2 with a couple fantastic set 2 cards. We're excited to see that, and hopefully, I think, more cards coming in set 3, although I know you can't say. And then Adam was introduced to us with his brilliant Chief Bogo illustration. Great card, great illustration. And so we were excited to see Adam join the Lorcana family with set 2. So, yeah. And throughout this segment, if anybody has any questions for our guests, like feel free to ask. So, yeah. The first thing I guess I'll ask is, I do want to ask Adam, like you got to see, like for Louise, your card was real like really early, like before Lorcana was a thing, and you kind of got to see the hype build. And Adam, you were watching like the hype build for Lorcana like for months before your card was released. What was it like to see your card come out and have people see it for the first time?
It was really cool. I was very relieved that I didn't have to sit on that card anymore. And that people could like see it and I could be like, yeah, you know, it was really fun to work on and everything. And I didn't have to like keep it as much of a secret anymore. But yeah, it was quite thrilling to see that pop up one day randomly in my feed.
It's so cool. And I know one thing I have to. There's the fun connection I think between you two is Louise. I think you were the biggest Zootopia fan I've ever met. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah.
I am like, it's probably one of the things that back in 2016, I think that's one of the things that really encouraged me just to go like to animation conventions in the US. And I fortunately was able to meet like a couple of people that actually work on Zootopia, and they were actually super cool to really explain to me a little bit of how the things work on that project in particular, because I pretty much love everything about that movie. I have the art book signed by all the artists, by all the production designers and the director, and it's just a movie that I really love because of everything, the colors, the character design. So I fell in love with that movie when it came out, and I was so hard trying to get into into Corey Loftis and Shi Yun Kim, which are like some of the character designers and visual development artists that work on that movie. So yeah, I was I fell in love with that movie, and I was just trying to improve my art when it came out. Like the art, that I bought the art book and just started to study the art book. Yeah, it was a movie that really inspired me moving forward, and it helped me out throughout my art career.
Fantastic. So seeing it in Lorcana must have been pretty cool.
You guys hear him?
Yeah, we got you, Louise. I think you have
Yeah.
a bit of a delay. Yeah.
Can you guys hear me?
We got you, Louise. You're just
Okay.
you're a bit delayed, I think. Yeah. Anyway. All right.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it's got a bit
Okay.
of delay with your connection. One thing I want to, well, first, before I forget, one thing I want to highlight for everybody watching. For those who don't know, it is December. It is there's a couple Lorcana artists and some other fantastic artists running an art challenge where every day artists are taking a prompt, a Disney prompt, and then doing a brand new piece for it. And Adam is one of the accounts you absolutely should follow, because you're putting out some killer art every single day. And I wish I downloaded and shared some of them, but definitely somebody you should follow. So, because for one of the things I love about your art, Adam, is you can tell in each one of your pieces kind of the connection you have with Disney and with some of these properties. Because I know for you, Disney was such a huge part of your upbringing, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, definitely.
Which movies do you connect with the most from when you were a kid?
As far as like animated ones, with Disney in particular, like Little Mermaid, #1, Sleeping Beauty, Cinderella, a lot of the princess movies, quite honestly, just because they're the most like fantastical and they have the most like the best mix of elements, I personally feel, of things that appeal to me. I love musicals. The music always is something that is at the forefront for me. And then like the more modern stuff, Zootopia is high up there on the list as well. And then your Tangled and Moana and ones like that.
Yeah. Sorry, just making sure Louise is gonna pop back on if he can. I think his connection's.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. So what does it feel like to be, I don't know, to be working on Disney art then? And you know, I know you're working for Ravensburger, but you're working on Disney, like official Disney art. What's that like to finally be, I don't know, connecting with this part of your childhood?
Oh man, like really, it's indescribable, honestly. Like it's there's a part of me, like the kid in me, that's just like over the moon about the whole thing. Just kind of like, I can't believe it's real, you know. Even in the context of working with a project that is not exclusively Disney, but is partnered with another company that's got a really great sterling reputation. I've been playing Ravensburger games since I was a kid, and it's just really cool to be like suddenly finding myself here doing this kind of thing. But like at the same time, it's very much work. It's work, you know. There's a lot of things that have to get in the right spot for. I was saying this to somebody else the other day, because I can't really talk too much about the process, but I can say that there's a lot of moving parts, and it's a very collaborative process, because you have to get things to look just the right way for the purposes of the game and how Disney wants it to be portrayed.
Actually, that's fascinating. I do I know you all can't talk about the process, because the NDAs say like you can't talk about like the process and stuff. But Shane Hartley at Lightbox did a demonstration with some concept artists where they talked about the process. And so for those watching, I'll give a brief rundown of how complicated it can be. And again, I know you all can't officially comment on the process, but according to Shane, you know, this is all public. You know, first, you know, there's the concept phase where some artists will take their concept work and go all the way through the finish, and some artists work solely on concept pieces, and those get handed off to card artists. But after the concept phase, the concept is run by Ravensburger, oftentimes run by Disney. If there's time, Disney will approve it. Then it comes back, and then the concepts get flushed out. Then it goes to a card artist. Then there are thumbnails. Then there's black and white. Then there's color. And at various points throughout this process, that piece is going not only, you know, to Ravensburger and the art director to tweak, but then it's going to Disney for red lines and approval. Because at Disney, they're individuals whose sole job it is to guard the IP of certain characters. So you might have certain characters like Hades, let's say, that's assigned to you, and your job is to make sure that the portrayal of Hades in certain properties is on model, like it's the right values, everything is correct. And that's your job, is to safeguard this character for Disney. And so they're the gatekeepers in many ways of these new concepts of characters that we see. And so from start to finish, this process can take a long time, and there can be many iterations back and forth because there's so many people that are collaborating on this process. So each card is so much work, so much work. So I'm curious, like from start to finish for you all, on average, how long do you think a card takes? And if you can't, you know, talk about it because it's part of the process, that's totally fine.
What would you say, Luis?
This is a tough one.
It is. It varies, doesn't it?
Since I was... So what I would say is that has been the process has been evolving, well, at least for me, that I was on the first one. And I would say, yeah, it's hard to explain.
Well, I'm sure each card's different too, I'm sure, based on where you know, it's set and the process. And so, yeah. We heard from one artist, I won't say who, but we heard from one artist that a particular card took 7 months for them from start to finish, which boggled my mind a little bit.
Mm-hmm. If I were to respond to that in a way that isn't giving too much away, I think it really depends on the importance of the card, the complexity of its design, the characters involved, if there are characters involved. There's a lot of variables that factor into the time frame of a card, and sometimes it can vary even from there, whether it goes quick or it goes slow, because it's a collaborative process.
Yeah, fascinating.
Yes.
Yeah. So my mind is worried with like questions
there's so
that
many
I want.
factors that really...
Yeah. My mind's worrying with questions that I want to ask, but I know probably err too close to the NDA concerns. Yeah. Have you all, Luis, I know you've been to some cons. So we'll stay away from the card process. But if anybody in the chat has any questions that maybe we can ask, feel free to put them in there. And Jake, if you have any questions, jump in. But one thing I did want to ask, like Louise, I know you've been to a few cons, and you've had a chance to interact with fans. Adam, have you had a chance to meet like Lorcana fans yet and kind of interact with people who collected your cards?
A little bit, yeah. There was a local, so my LGS had a event, a pre-release for the Fortyborn a couple weekends ago, actually, and they were really excited to find out that they had a local living here in my town that is one of the artists, and so they invited me to come and do a card signing event with them. And they got a bunch of BOGO cards they were lucky enough to get. And I signed a whole bunch of cards there, and I got to meet several fans and watch them play. And it was really, really quite fun.
Oh, that's really cool. And Louise, what was it like meeting fans for you? I know you've been to, I guess, 2 cons or several cons since the game was released, but one in particular that was like a TCG focused con. So what's it like meeting fans who collect your cards and just love your work?
I know it's a little bit delay because of my connection. Sorry about that. But my Miami TCG, which was like my first convention that I did, and I met the fans. The fact that I did it all together with a lot of artists from Lorcana, I think it made the experience even better. It was probably a very sweet experience, and it was fantastic just to meet like all the passion that a lot of the fans have for the game, and also because they're all also like Disney fans, so it's just something that you have to be there. You have to be there. It was fantastic.
So cool.
Yeah, I was gonna hop in and say it's, first of all, nice to meet both of you, and it's awesome to get to have the space to ask both of you these questions. Unfortunately, most of my questions would shatter the NDA, so I'll say a question that I have maybe for Adam would be: this is my first time doing something creative regularly. I'm a software engineer in my day job. While there is a creative aspect to that, it's very different than being a full-time artist. I've recently started doing content creation related to Lorcana, and while it's very different than creating art full-time, sometimes I find myself getting in like a creative rut where it's like that part of my brain just doesn't want to keep moving. Do you have any advice for somebody that's trying to pursue some sort of creative endeavor, how they can get around that creative rut?
Oh, this is an interesting one because it's like there's no, in my mind, there is no one answer to that. It is really, for me anyway, it depends on a lot of different outside factors. Sometimes depends on where I'm at mentally, where I'm at physically. If I'm just not feeling it, I'm not feeling it. And it is okay to do that. Like I'm doing this monthly challenge thing right now with December, and I'm not getting each one started and finished in one day. A lot of it's happening like the day before, 2 days before. And I really haven't had the luxury of planning ahead. So most of it's happening the day of, planning that day's prompt, and it doesn't maybe get done for a day or 2 days. But a lot of that just has to do with my energy levels and my inspiration. So as far as like when I get stuck in a creative rut, for me, it's not so much I'm doing like, I feel like I'm doing the same stuff over and over. It's more like, how can I be different? How can I be inventive and creative and challenge myself? And sometimes it's as simple as just going, okay, let's draw something that you haven't thought of yet. Just draw this character in this scenario, which is kind of how I came up with the, honestly, the Aristocats one for December came together because of a line from the movie. I had never watched it before. And so watching the movie first really did help my creative process because I had no ideas. And so there was literally a single line where the adult cats are watching the kittens sleeping, and they had previously in another scene talked about some magic carpet scenario, and Thomas O'Malley had promised a magic carpet to them. It was like he was promising them the moon, and he goes, I bet they're on that magic carpet right now. And I was like, magic carpet, Aladdin, there we go, you know. And sometimes it's just a simple idea, you know. The complex ideas could really like bog you down. So if you are feeling creatively blocked, I would say like do a palette cleanser, find a simple idea to go off of. And sometimes that's the best idea. I don't know.
That makes sense.
I don't know if that answers any of your question, but
no, I think that helps.
Good.
Yeah. I don't know. I managed to pull up the feed here. I like that you keep mentioning the challenge. We did have a question earlier from Steven Gettle about how long it would take to reimagine a card. You know, if you had no prompts and you were just doing a card. And what I love about both of you is, you know, one, you know, Adam, through the challenge that you're doing, where we can kind of see what you're doing on a day-to-day basis and kind of jamming this out quickly. And then Louise, through your like nightly streams. For those who don't know, Louise Twitches on stream. That's different. Streams on Twitch almost nightly, where you can watch him create pieces a lot of times based on prompts from, you know, his subscribers and followers. And so you can kind of see them both work in their own way. And Adam, I think you do Instagram streams too occasionally, right?
I do about one a month. On the second Thursdays, I do a Draw With Me live thing.
That's awesome. So you can kind of see them work here and you know, their process and stuff. And I do have to say, Adam, it is pretty amazing to see what you churn out here for December on a day-to-day basis. I think I just have to highlight, since I have it at my other favorite one here.
I love that, Hades. I love it.
Somebody told me that would work well for the next day's prompt, which was Emperor's New Groove. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm going to do an Emperor's New Groove one anyway.
The Yzma cat is just great.
Can you imagine those two, though? I mean, no one's got a chance if those two were to team up.
Only in Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
Only in Kingdom Hearts. I don't know. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. I think that this is just, I'm still, you know, learning a lot about being creative at a regular cadence. And sometimes I get stuck on stuff, or I'm really hard on myself about this isn't that good, or really doubting that. Does it ever go away? Like, do you ever finish a piece and you're like, I know what I'm doing. This is really good.
Maybe,
and I'm okay with any answer. I'm just wondering.
Maybe like halfway, like, yeah, allow yourself to really like something when it works, when it's successful, like to you, not for any other people. Mm-hmm. Like when you're looking at this and going, this is really clicking, I'm really digging this, take the win, take that victory. That will help bolster your confidence as you move forward. And then remember, not everybody's going to be able to make sense of what you do. I have a case in point. I have this Lilo and Stitch picture that I did for December 5th. And I have seen the movie dozens and dozens of times. I saw it when it first came out. I've watched it over and over again. I'm very well aware of the scenario that is portrayed here, not computing with people. And that's the funny part about it is, but it computed with me. I was like, so in this scenario, Stitch is pretending that he can't lift it because David has self-esteem issues as well. And he just wants his friend to feel more confident, like he's doing well. And a lot of people just saw it immediately as, well, Stitch can lift like, 30,000 or 3,000 times his own body weight. I'm like, yeah, he can, but he's faking. So it's not always going to be what your creative endeavor isn't always necessarily going to be for everybody. But if it works in your mind and it's clicking with you, and that's what you are passionate about doing and getting it out there, then that's all that matters.
Yeah. Kind of agree with that. Back in 2020, when I was, when we were like in the whole pandemic situation, I made a challenge with a friend of mine called Dragon March, which was like a daily prompt with but it was only with dragons. But it was super fun just to be able to learn a little bit of something new every day, and the satisfaction of getting that idea and how different was our ideas when we compared to each other, like the prompt, and the fact that we got to learn from each other. It's also like one of the greatest experiences because you get to have fun and also see how your your process starts to develop as well. Which I will say, like, it's the most fun I had is when I started to get more mistakes and just learn from them, and then just apply those apply the things I learned from those mistakes and just keep getting better and better. I think that was a fantastic way to learn and just to have fun.
Definitely. Oh my gosh, your Smaugus stuff. I think that might have been when I first started following you, Luis. I saw the Smaugus hashtag and I saw your work and I'm like, oh, dude, this is a easy follow right here.
Thank you. Thank you. Ever since Spyro, I started to play like the Spyro games on college. That's when I started to have this love for dragons and just do like fun designs with them. And when Reignited came out, I got to meet Nicholas Cole, which,
Oh my gosh.
funny enough, the story that he's working on Lorcana too, and we actually got to work in a couple of projects like together, like
That's
just
so cool.
just by fate. It's incredible how sometimes things work. Like the art industry is so small.
That's so awesome.
But yeah, it's been, I think what I would say with challenges for this kind of daily challenges, like, don't force yourself to finish One Piece for one day. It's really not gonna make you any good. I will try to say, just if you feel like just sketching the idea or something, like, just plan it, have fun. Don't bother too much about uh post the posting it like the day that it has to be delivered. Just feel good that you are actually um like translating these ideas you have from your head or your imagination to paper. That's when you're gonna start to enjoy the process. Like, just see how many things you're gonna accomplish by just translating that idea from your head, even if it doesn't look the way you expected.
I like to think of it like in fitness with working out, and people are like, how do you turn that into a habit? And you can read all the different books in the world on how to form good habits, and maybe none of that's going to translate, but one thing that does translate is the more you do anything on the regular, the better you're going to get. It doesn't matter how fast or how slow you're doing it.
Yeah, that makes
This is
sense.
also, Jake, I don't know about you, but this is also inspirational for me, as it's a different form of art, like video editing and podcast editing and all that, but it's content, it's creation, and I don't know, these answers are kind of inspiring.
Yeah, I feel
for
inspired.
sure.
And
Yeah.
I would also be, my friends' kids would not be able to forgive me if I didn't take a moment to thank Luis for his work on the Wing Feather Saga. I don't want to distract from the conversation too much, because that's not what this is about. But that story has taken my friend group's children by storm. They are obsessed, and so thank you for your contribution to that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I really recommend you the art book. They have an art book that they sell on the if you're a fan of the series. There's a lot of Nicholas Cole, and there's like all the team did a gorgeous job on the first season. I'm still blown away by how it looks. Um, also, it also inspires me to really. It inspired me already to go to that to the storybook feel, which is basically very close to the way Lorcana is actually translated into their cards. So
For sure.
yeah.
Interesting.
I
That kind
saw
of got
something. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Adam. Sorry.
Oh, I saw somebody comment in the chat, and they said, "Do you guys find the process of working through the feedback from a client, Ravensburger and Disney in our case, but not necessarily, affecting your style on other pieces moving forward?" And I have to say, I have noticed not that it affects my style, it affects my approach in my process. I'll sit and I'll go, okay, and I'll literally redline my own work, and I'll be going, I'm gonna adjust that a little bit more. I'm gonna adjust this a little bit more and do this. And so it does tend to affect how you think about your approach. I would say, for me anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll say the same because I have been using the same tools, the same approach since the beginning. It's just basically the way that I think it actually make me improve in my workflow. That's when I that's when I that's what I started to notice a little bit, especially when it comes to the sketching, the thumbnailing phase, which I was starting to get into it, but I was trying to be more careful and just spend more time on that area um, after starting to work on this project, which it basically just made me start to polish a little bit of my process. But as style, I think I just keep doing the same things and just basically trying to get everything in model, which is normal because it's basically how things work on the project because the characters have to look like the characters of Disney. So
Yeah.
That's fascinating. Well, we are running short on time here. If there's any last minute questions in the chat, feel free to ask them. But I do want to ask for both of you artists. I want to make sure you have an opportunity to tell people how to follow you, so they can follow your streams and your work. I don't know, Adam, do you want to go first? How can people follow your work?
You can find me on Instagram as Adam_is_arting. And it's going to be the same on my Threads and Blue Sky and Facebook. I have art pages for all those. And you can also watch and join me live when I do a live draw on the second Thursday of each month on Instagram Live.
I'm trying to figure out when the next one would be. I'm going to look that up because I definitely want to watch.
You can also go to my website at adamisarting.com.
The 11th, January 11th, second Thursday.
Yeah.
Luis, how about you?
all right, you can follow me at Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, as at Gamut Feathers. It's right there on the screen, and I also do Twitch streams. The usual time that I stream it's around 8:30 p.m. Central, and I usually work on commissions. I work on also in some personal art right now because I'm doing some some illustrations for my Twitch stream. So if you like dragons, if you like fantasy art, which is the usual thing you will see on my stream, yeah, go check it out. It's twitch.tv / Gamut Feathers as well. So and also you can find my all my links on my Twitter. Yeah, there's my link tree, so you can basically find me as at Gamut Feathers everywhere if you want to contact me.
And you, absolutely should follow both these artists. One thing I'm picking up here is that I need to join Blue Sky. Apparently, I'm the only one not on there. Jake, do you have a Blue Sky yet? Or am I the only one out here?
I literally don't know what that is. Never heard of it before this moment.
Yeah, I know it's a Twitter. It's a social media alternative. I've not checked it out yet, but
I can send you a code, Leanne.
yes, please do.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone for joining us this week. I hope this was fun. I think we're off next week because I believe Monday is Christmas, so we decided to leave off that one, and then perhaps New Year's as well. But thanks for joining us, everybody. Make sure you follow all these amazing creators, and with that, I'll leave it at sign off.